All right, welcome back to another episode of the Cameo Podcast Civic Election Edition. I am recording once again in Motivo, but this time I think I technically have actual proper permission because I am sitting with the sole proprietor of Motivo.
Absolutely, and I like to call this our flagship store down here in Kamloops downtown, and we've been here over 13 years now.
Now, was this Cowboy Coffee, or was it still Cowboy Coffee back at Redbeard?
It was Cowboy Coffee here, and then they changed the name to Motivo about 7 or 8 years ago or so, and opened a Cafe Motivo on the North Shore. This was the previous owners from me, and then that ended up being Redbeard, and then I bought this one, and then I opened the one up in Sahalie as well, which I just sold at the end of July.
So when did you come in, out of curiosity? Because wasn't like Megan Schultz of Coco.Cajun involved a couple years ago?
Yeah, she was a partner right at the beginning with me about 3.5 years ago is when this kind of started. After about a year and a half, we just decided it might be best if we kind of wanted to go our different ways. And I decided to stick with Motivo, and she went her own way and is being very successful with her Coco.Cajun, but also a catering company.
Mission Control Catering.
Yeah, exactly.
She's killing it, and she's opened up her spot, I think, towards like Radio NL or something.
Yeah, I think their grand opening is coming up pretty soon. So it's Kamloops, and Kamloops supports Kamloops.
Totally.
And that's the great thing about living here.
Yeah. So you ran in the by-election.
No, I did not.
You did not.
No,
I didn't. Oh, why did I think that?
I don't mean to correct you, Nevin, but
that's fine.
No, I ran in the last full municipal election.
Okay, that's why.
In 2014.
Got it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I know his name on the signs,
yeah,
and I know your face because you've been part of the business community for a long time.
Yeah.
Coming. What do you represent in this election? What makes up Mike O'Reilly?
I think the biggest thing is keeping Kamloops affordable. There's a lot of talk about affordable housing, which is a piece of it, but it's keeping Kamloops affordable for everyone. And I strongly believe that there's a direct correlation between good-paying jobs and affordability. If you and I sitting here, we're both making $100,000 a year, you know what? All of a sudden, everything in Kamloops is pretty affordable. So it's all relative, and I believe we have to have strong, good-paying, family-raising jobs in Kamloops, which we have a lack of those.
Mm-hmm.
Even looking at full-time jobs instead of part-time. I know so many people that are raising kids that are working part-time jobs because they can't get the full-time jobs. There has been a lot of jobs that have left Kamloops over the last 15 years, and I think that needs to stop. And that all starts with cutting down red tape at City Hall. But the other half of that is rolling out red carpet for business and investment. And you'll hear many candidates say, yeah, we need to cut red tape. We got to cut red tape. That's half of it. That doesn't matter at all unless you help the other piece, which is getting people to actually make that investment decision.
Absolutely, yeah. And I've stricken out my own in recent weeks. Half my choice, half not my choice. But people always look at you and think you're kind of crazy when you're going out and you're trying to make your own business. Yep. But then here they are, you're saying like people want good paying jobs, but they think you're crazy when you want to create your own income. Yeah. How can city council kind of encourage more people to create their own income, do what you're doing, start a business, purchase a business, do something to keep the dollars local? Yeah,
I think a big thing, and if you look at, it's pretty obvious, there are so many people that are moving up from the Lower Mainland to Kamloops. And that's a big thing of what's causing prices to increase, which that's part of it. But what we're not seeing is businesses relocate here. We're not having the businesses follow. We're just having the people come up, but not the employment piece. So I think there's a big thing. The city of Kamloops has a tax exemption program for multifamily developments in the downtown core on the North Shore. And if you look around downtown, there are multiple buildings going up all over with residential units. Kamloops is one of only 2 cities in all of British Columbia that does not have a tax exemption for commercial buildings. So to help get buildings built, which again we've seen with the residential being built, they're being given a little bit of a leg up. Commercial isn't getting that. So for people that have been in Kamloops for a long time, one of the last new office buildings built in the downtown core was the McDonald's building at the corner of 3rd and Victoria Street. That was over 20 years ago.
Well, then we see like Hotel 540 doing that thing there as well, or
their new building.
Yeah, their expansion of sorts, I guess. Right?
They're hoping to.
Oh,
but again,
still hoping.
That is something that if this tax exemption that we know works, that doesn't cost the city anything at all. It just allows the developer to get it going. If that were to be in place, that would help get their building going. As you can see, nothing's broken ground.
Oh, okay.
Again, so if you're an investor deciding, I've got $15 million, I'm going to spend it somewhere in BC, and you start looking around all the cities, and Kamloops is the only one that's going to start taxing you fully from day one for 10 years, well, that's a huge hit to your bottom line, and that's enough to make or break a project. So, if these new office buildings come or commercial developments get built here, then we'll see more high-end businesses coming with higher-end employees, higher wages, moving to Kamloops.
Doesn't the city also have a thing where you're forced to, if you have an office building, be in the downtown core? Which is why all the banks have to be in the downtown core, and...
No, that's not the case. They're trying to keep the majority of office space in the downtown core or the North Shore core, but not everything. It is opened up in a little bit in certain areas. You can have a small percentage of office throughout the city, but we want to try and keep our business districts and thriving. And I don't think that's a bad thing at all. The only bylaw that's in place is for banks, as you mentioned. Yeah. That's the only one.
Okay.
That it's not that they have to be located downtown, but their main branch, they have to have a branch downtown. And I think that's important to keep this our financial district. And so they can open up all over as long as they have one branch downtown.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you just had one of your customers, waving goodbye to you. I saw you chatting with at least 3 different tables before you came and chat with me.
Yeah.
You've really kind of created this community, within your cafe, which is quite vibrant.
Yeah.
How do you think you can have this community in your cafe kind of spill over into the rest of Kamloops? Is there a way to kind of like...
I think partly what makes the downtown the feel of downtown, because it's not just my business that does this, but it's the densification, and it's having a lot of people in an area. And it's funny when you look in my cafe here, it's such a broad spectrum of people. The lefts, the rights, and the centers, it's everybody, and like there's no dominant crowd here. And that's why I never put any of my political views on anybody here. They're all friends, they all get along, they all have their own different things, but I don't put it on anybody. Yeah. It's leaving that at the door, and we come in and we're friends. And when I first bought this cafe 3.5 to 4 years ago, one of the things that a customer told me, and then it came up multiple times after, they said, this is the Cheers of Kamloops. Like, this is the Cheers of Kamloops. This is our cafe, and it is my customer's cafe much more than it's my cafe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's awesome. And that's what makes this cafe. It's not Mike's neat ideas. This is what Mike wants. No, this is what our customers wants. And similar to when hopefully if I get on council, this is what the people of Kamloops wants.
Yeah.
And I'll represent them to the fullest extent.
Yeah, Motivo has a special place in my heart. I was hired for KTW Digital over there. I've done lots of interviews here. I had lots of great conversations right there, right? If anyone was to say, put me on a spectrum, I would be more left than yourself, right? But here we are having a conversation over coffee, and, I can review your baristas' Instagrams and whatnot. They're definitely not the same views as yourself either, right?
Absolutely.
So you definitely created something for everyone, which goes back to that, allowing, families, not just, the low income and everyone on the spectrum, right?
Exactly.
What's another part of your platform that you think isn't getting as much attention as you maybe want to chat about?
Again, I go back to good paying jobs. And just tell a little bit of a personal story here, because this is where it all relates back to. But
hey, that's the beauty of podcasting. It's about humanizing people.
Yeah, exactly. When we first moved to Kamloops about 30 years ago, my parents were both working for provincial corporations, BC Tel and CN at the time. And and going from both full-time jobs, which they transferred up from their Vancouver jobs. BC Tel closed down in Kamloops, moved to Kelowna, which left my mom unemployed, and she started her own business in Kamloops, which was Molly Made. So she started Molly Made in Kamloops.
Like she bought the franchise.
Yes, she bought the franchise and opened it here, which is still going today. And then at that point, then CN, the job was moved in CN here up to Prince George. And, so we made the tough decision of having to uproot the family and move to Prince George. We went there for 3 months. My dad had the full-time job up there. My mom did as well. But went up there 3 months, and it wasn't a city for us, and we moved back to Kamloops. And at that point, then, my parents kind of separated and went their separate ways, which happens. And my mom got on with the RCMP, doing 911 dispatch, which was great. It was fantastic. The dispatch center then closed here in Kamloops and left and moved the jobs down to Kelowna. And at that point, my mom wasn't able to, say, you know what, I can't give this up. And she had to leave town and left the boys behind, and we mostly stuck around here. She just moved back last month.
Oh, wow.
It took her 17 years to get back to Kamloops. And these are stories that are all over, and it affects families. It affects the people that want to live and raise a family and grow here, but they can't.
Yeah.
I think that's just so incredibly important.
Yeah, I got a young one. You got a young one as well.
Yeah, 7 months.
7 months. Yeah, 6 months. So.
Oh, there you
yeah,
go.
So
boy, we should have a beer about that, because that's not a coffee conversation.
Yeah. Well, I'll admit I wasn't very involved actually with my kid in the first 3-4 months, but now much more involved thanks to some great medication and whatever.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, I know the struggles of providing for your family, and the stresses was part of the reason why maybe I wasn't so involved, right? Because you're just focusing on that good paying job that I eventually left, right? Like which is craziness to people, right?
Yeah.
How do you give that up?
Yeah.
And and people don't get, like, you don't walk out and find a job that was paying as much as I was getting paid previously.
Yeah, I had a lady approach me the other day, and she saw my pin on and asked me if I was running the election, and she had said I'm going through a really hard time, and she was in her mid-50s, and she said, I'm a grandma now, and I wasn't expecting this point in my career, but my daughter and her daughter, 2-year-old, are living with her in her house. And I said, oh, that's too bad. And she said, yeah, she said they can't find a place to live. They can't find an affordable house to live in Kamloops. She said she works 2 jobs. She can't get a full-time one, but she has 2 4-day-a-week jobs, but she can't get a full-time job. And when you look at housing affordability, which, I talked about, it's related to jobs, but a big piece of that is pushing on Thompson Rivers University to have housing for their students. They're bringing in thousands upon thousands of students, which is absolutely fantastic for the economy.
Yeah, it's like $21 million of international money coming.
And it's not even international. Like, I'm talking students from all over British Columbia.
I'm from
Canada.
Ontario.
Okay, yeah.
Like, I came for TRU.
So they're coming, but there is no housing for these students. So they're moving into market rental housing that could be used for single moms or young families, and that's driving the cost of rent up. So you have so many people living in illegal basement suites throughout Kamloops, which, some of them are fine. Some of them are very scary conditions. You have all of the motels being rented out by students. And again, it's driving the rent for regular, everyday Kamloops people that are trying to live here and call this home for themselves and the family. And I think Thompson Rivers University, should be providing housing. That being said, they're making great strides here, and a lot's coming on in the next 2 or 3 years, and that's all just been announced recently in the last year. But we're still in a hard position till those new buildings get built, and it needs to happen.
Yeah, I think we're at 0.04% vacancy rate or something like that.
Yeah, extremely low.
Which,
And it's supply and demand.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what drives costs up. At the end of the day, that's what it is.
Yeah. Like, I know as a student, like, if you could lock down an apartment at, like, June, July, you'd probably be paying $200 less than if you did it in September, right? So if you could afford to hold it over the summer, right, then you're lucky. I always lucked out with my rental housing, but again, like, I took it away from someone who only had, $400, $500, because that was my budget.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So, what's a trend that you've been chatting with a lot of people beyond good paying jobs with? What are people coming up and wanting to speak to you about?
To what, sorry?
What's something that people want to speak to you about when they meet you on the street or see you here in your cafe that seems to be a trending topic?
A trending topic. Sometimes it can be the flavor of the day.
Yep.
What's kind of the hot button thing in the media at that point. Sometimes it could be snow removal. Sometimes it's potholes. Sometimes it's the homelessness, which having a business downtown, we're the first one to open in the downtown core. That at 4:30 a.m. when we get here, we see a lot of that.
4:30 a.m.
Yeah, that's when our staff typically get here to start. So, we see it before anybody else.
Yeah.
The homelessness, again, a lot has been started a year ago to help with that, and it's going to take a year or two to get there. There's 50 new units on the South Shore, 50 new units on the North Shore built just for homeless people, and that's going to help clean up a lot.
Yeah.
It is, and those are under construction. It's the next phase that I'm concerned with. It's the next phase of people that can barely pay rent now that will end up being homeless.
Yeah.
And it's trying to accommodate that. But the bottom line that I'm hearing is, you hear all these different services and different things that people want, but they don't want to pay more taxes. They want to keep our taxes in line and in check. And that's a very fine line. So then it's deciding, okay, what do we do? How do we do that? So
yeah, you can't have both worlds, right?
No.
Solve this issue, but I don't want to pay for it.
And going back, the solution to doing that is having more business and more tax-paying people in Kamloops. So instead of getting the people here now to pay more, we bring more people in to do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Where do you think Kamloops grows to? Like, where should the next big development be of good single family homes? Because that's been a challenge too. Because I chatted with some developers who they go to this place to then get the opportunity to develop there, whatever it be, and they're banging for years asking, I need a place to break ground. Give it to me.
Yeah, it's very hard. I mean, the city's very big on densification right now, which is fantastic. Condos, townhouses, and apartments, and there's currently 1,700 multifamily units under development right now in Kamloops, under construction.
Oh wow,
that's how many, and that's what's coming online. But we can't be oblivious to what some people want, and there will always be a need for single-family housing. For myself, coming from a house with 3 boys, we could not have a large backyard to run around and play. We wouldn't have been able to grow up in a condo. We need to accommodate development, but also be aware that we can't keep developing further and further forever. There are lands that could be opened up throughout the city, specifically in the southwest of Kamloops, and I think that needs to be continued to be looked at.
Southwest, where would that be?
Like Upper Aberdeen.
Upper Aberdeen, yeah.
Upper Aberdeen, Pineview area. I'm cautious of the Dufferin Park because there's a park there.
Yep.
And I think we need to keep our parkland. We're not creating new parkland. That's not going to happen. So we need to hang on to what we got.
Absolutely, yeah. It was interesting, visiting Donovan McCavers at his carriage house, right, to see that densification in action in really a truly applicable way, right? Perfect way for like a young professional to live in a low cost way.
And that's a piece of it, but we can't forget about all the pieces.
Totally.
Right, and I think that's important. And it's not hard to see a prime example of that, and that is looking at Sun Rivers. If you look at how well Sun Rivers has done, and now Tobiano, those are single-family lots. There is still a demand for that, and we still need to offer that. We can't say no single-family lots in Kamloops anymore. We need to offer a full spectrum of housing options in Kamloops.
Absolutely, yeah. The wife's pushing me every day to, we need a bigger house, right? Because we do have a small half duplex, right? And
yeah.
We bought it because we had the opportunity to buy it.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't fully inspect it as deeply as we should have, knocking on some walls to realize, they did not make this correctly, and they installed the doors upside down and this, that, and the other thing, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, we were feeling the pressure of we either buy this now or we continue to rent for, another decade.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? So, we're hoping to eventually have a single family home, but, in 5 years, who knows if that's even an opportunity for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's, just to kind of maybe wrap it up, what's something about Mike O'Reilly that you just want to share that maybe is beyond just politics or a little bit more of who you are if you want? Are you comfortable with that?
Oh, yeah, of course. Trying to think. I grew up in an entrepreneurial family, small business, and we weren't a well-off family by any means. I spent most of my teenage years in government-subsidized housing, while my mom was trying to get on with 911, trying to find a job. And I think that's why I'm so passionate and feel so strongly about there needing to be good paying jobs in Kamloops. One of my earliest memories of media or newspaper was back in the early 90s, and this was when Kamloops Daily News was still operating in Kamloops, and it was the front page of the newspaper, and it was when Superstore in Sahali was opening.
Mm-hmm.
And the front page was a photo, and it was a line of people down the street around Superstore and back up the other side of people dropping off resumes for basically working at Superstore to bag groceries. That's how tough the times were back then.
Oh, wow.
And again, I don't know why it was burned in my memory, but it was. And I've been entrepreneurial, from day one, I guess, from high school on. I started my first company when I was 22.
Wow.
And
what was that?
I bought a bus with a friend of mine, and we converted it into a limousine. And,
awesome.
And we called it the Loser Cruiser, LUZR, CRUZR. And it was actually very successful, but it was to the point where one of us had to quit our job, and neither one of us were willing to take that risk. So we sold that off. But that was my first business, and I've been going strong ever since. And
it's funny you say that about like taking that leap, right? That leap of faith, right? You got Lincoln Smith sitting behind you in your own cafe, right? Where he has all these people who did take that leap of faith at the Innovation Center, right?
Yes, exactly.
To make it go.
And it's not. This isn't about business owners getting rich. This has nothing to do with that. This is about having jobs for people to go to. Yourself starting out, but any small business in Kamloops, you're not getting rich what you're doing. You're doing it because you enjoy it, and you're doing it because you're providing employment to these people. You're providing them opportunity to do what they want to do, whether it's go back to school or whether they get into their own business, or that's all things that we're very supportive of our staff. It's never, you're going back to school, that's going to be hard on us, or you're going on to things. The conversation multiple times is, what do you want to do next? How do we get to what your goal is? We know you're not going to work for us forever.
Yeah.
Right? How do we develop you, and what do you need to get to your next level?
Yeah, it's awesome when you have employers who encourage that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in a situation where I have a guy who helps me make sure that my bills are paid,
mm-hmm.
right? As I figure out other sort of stuff, right? And you got to have someone who really sees the larger vision, because they were there at one point.
Exactly.
Right?
We all were. We all have been. Some of us still are right now. Some of us will go back.
Yeah. Just to hit that, make it into the black, right? Get out of the red, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You got to have a little bit of help to get out of the red, and it's pretty challenging.
Yeah, it was a memory came up on Facebook yesterday, and I might post it again today. But it was just a little photo that I posted, or graphic, and it was a straight up arrow on an angle, but in a strong upward incline, and it said, what people think success looks like. And the one beside it was basically a spaghetti noodle of back and forth, like, and then at the end it has a little arrow that's going up. That's what success is. It's learning, it's trying, it's failing,
Totally.
it's going back to zero, and it's, you know, and it's working through that and trying not to make that mistake again.
Yeah, I thought I was gonna sell like my podcast, and I actually had like, I chatted with 2 different media companies at one point about trying to do that, right? And there was like a lot of interest with one, and you know, a little bit with another. But I'm super glad I never like got the quick buck and got out, right? Because, you know, it became a little bit more, and it starts becoming an extension of yourself, but like this was not the trajectory I thought I would go, right? I thought maybe I would, you know, make, you know, a little bit of pocket money every month, and it would just be a fun little hobby, not like kind of become really a huge extension of myself.
Yeah, and you know, that's funny because a lot of Kamloops business owners, it's a passion for them. As you know, they enjoy what they're doing. They're not doing it to make money or a lot of money. You know, they're doing it because they enjoy it, and they can make a living doing it. And I know countless business owners that, you know, they're kind of talking about maybe selling, or, you know, they're at retirement stage. And I say, oh, you know, like, you know, maybe it's time, right? And, or, you know, maybe it is time to close the doors and try something. I can't see my staff go. They've given so much to me over the last 10 or 20 years. I just can't do it. And they're, you know, you're emotionally invested. You give it, you know, 24 hours a day. You're thinking about your business. And you know, 90% of business in Kamloops is small business. Yeah. You know, and as I've been around doing interviews, and even this one, I'm thinking about, okay, what's going on behind me, right? As I was at a forum the other night that went till 9 o'clock, I left there to come back to the store here to fix our espresso machine that broke down. And I broke that and tore that down for 2.5 hours. And it just, you know, it's who you are. It's in your blood. So
yeah, like my family's been checking up on me to make sure I'm doing okay after recent events. And they're like, so what have you done fun that's lately? What's something fun that you've done lately? It's like, what are you talking about? I just told you what was fun. You know, I tried to make a little bit of money, try to flip some stuff, try to sell some stuff. You know, no, but what have you done that's fun?
Yeah,
they don't get that's enjoyable.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, but where can people learn more about you, Mike, or what's some parting words you want to share?
You know, you can go on my website, which is O'Reilly2018.com, or look me up on Facebook, obviously. But you know, then I guess the other thing that I'll just kind of leave in closing words is, I think it's important to have a balanced spectrum at City Hall. We need to have left and right people getting elected. And I mean, I use left and right loosely.
Yeah, I hate those terms these days, but I'm finding myself using them more than I want.
So I think that's so important. We don't want to have, you know, all one side or all the other. What I think is important, and if I get elected to council, is I want people that I can work with. Mm-hmm. I want people that are willing to look at things and, you know, really look at the big picture instead of saying, no, this is what I believe at a high level, that no, this is how I'm making my decision. No, it doesn't matter, you know, it's no. Can I work with these people? And, you know, are they willing to look at the proposal in front of them and, you know, look at those long-term benefits? And that's who I look forward to working with.
Compromise is a forgotten art.
But it's so important to move Kamloops forward. It is. It has to happen. It's, you know, and I just hope that anybody that gets elected that is willing to do that and wants to work with everybody there and for the betterment of advancing and keeping Kamloops thriving and growing.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for reaching back out to make this happen, right? Because I'm in the point of my project where I want to work on other projects, right? Where and all the CIVIC candidates all have my contact information, right? So if you're listening and you still want to get in touch, you know how to get in touch with me. I don't want to chase people down at this point, right? It's like we're getting close. We're 8 days away.
Yeah.
And there's one more day to vote in advance polls.
Yeah.
Wednesday, there's advance polls, and then Saturday, the 20th. Make sure you get out and vote. If I could ask for one thing, is get out and vote.
You know, that's the one exact same message I'm hearing from every candidate running. just get out and vote. Like, just get to the polls and exercise your right.
One
vote.
candidate, 2 candidates, 4 up to 8.
Yeah.
And then 1 mayor,
Yep.
right?
And
then school trustees, yes.
Right, there's 5 trustees you can vote for at the same time, and you get it done in one shot. And I did it 2 days ago, and literally 1 minute it took me from the time I got to the door to the time I left. I just walked in, piece of photo ID, so your driver's license, and a credit card. Or as I was getting my credit card out, they said, "Oh, you got a Costco card there? That's good enough." And they looked at a Costco card with my driver's license. So it's easy. They're not too worried about the Russian meddling or influence in our election this year, which is a good thing. So just get out and vote.
Soon, eventually.
Yeah.
Eventually we'll start seeing the left-right propaganda, what is it, the Internet Bureau or whatever,
exactly.
that Russian propaganda machine. But thank you once
right.
again for meeting with me. If I could ask the second thing is share this with someone you want to maybe learn a little bit more about Mike O'Reilly. Please subscribe, and thank you once again for tuning in to the Cameo podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Nevin.